Did you know you can grow your email list as a podcast guest? Instead of borrowing someone else's audience, why not focus on growing your own? Take your listeners from curious to connected with a private podcast reader magnet. Want to try one out? Mine is called Listeners to Readers, and in just 6 short episodes, you'll learn how a private podcast can grow your email list and market your book. Grab it for free at listenerstoreaders.com. Is your budget holding you back from guesting on podcast? Think you have to hire a PR firm to pitch you? Well, guess what? No PR, no problem. And today, my friend Desiree Taylor is here to share how she's making it work to be a guest on podcast. So Desiree is the author of Created to Relate, Living Beyond Religion. And we actually met years ago when Proverbs 31 Ministries started their Compel membership. And we were both small group leaders. And who knew back then we'd be where we are today? I couldn't wait for Desiree to come on to share her experience with podcast guesting as she's connected with many hosts through our favorite matchmaking platform, PodMatch. She's going to share how navigating challenges and trusting God with the results has helped her market her book in a God-honoring way as a podcast guest. You're in for a treat today, so let's get to it. Hey, Desiree, thank you for coming on to Book Marketing Mania to serve my listeners. I'm so excited about this conversation.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Desiree, I just want to talk to you today to share some tips with our listeners because you have been slaying the game of podcast guesting. I mean, every time I turn around, you're an A-plus guest because you're always sharing your interviews, which is how most of the time how I see them, if it's podcasts that I don't follow. And I've just been like in awe that, you're out there sharing this God-given message with so many different audiences. So I was super excited to talk to you about that. Let me ask you first about podcast guesting in general. How's that been going for you to share your message, build your platform? What have you seen come out of it?
Well, it's been a learning curve, but I feel like it's almost natural for me because this is how I am in real life and ministry in the church that I serve. So it has been outside of my, needing the right tools for my hearing loss and my deafness. And when I'm not having a good hearing day, just making sure that I'm equipped for all of that. But people have been so gracious with that too. It's been such a positive experience all the way around. I think just the people I've met, how they've been so graceful with me. And I just love the opportunity to share what God has for me to share. So it's just all very exciting. It's one of my favorite things, and it's my favorite part of marketing.
Oh, good. I love to hear that. Well, I want to ask you because you mentioned this, and I'm really curious for people that haven't started, like they're thinking, maybe I want to be a guest, but I don't know, like whatever reason they might be held up, if it's timing, they're waiting for their book to come out, or if there's other things stopping them. And I'm curious because you said, you talked about the learning curve. And was that the learning curve on how to be a guest, like how to find shows or anything like that? Or was it more of a personal learning curve?
I think it was a mix. Well, the first part was just finding a place that was affordable to do this because I had talked to different people and nothing's wrong with these other options. They're great. I just didn't have the finances there to do it that way.
Like somebody pitching for you?
Yes. And finding the podcast and all that. I didn't really think that I had the ability to do that. So that is one thing that PodMatch has helped me be more confident in how to pitch. It's given me practice to do those kind of things. So learning how to pitch, also learning, different people, different podcasts are different. So learning different styles of the podcast guesting. Most of them have been very conversational, which I love the most. I think I'm really good with the spontaneous, but some people are more structured. So just learning the different ways of podcast guesting and those kind of things. And the technical stuff for me has been a learning curve. So those are probably the biggest things.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up too, because I used to do a lot of PR and there's a lot of time investment and a relationship investment on the person, doing the PR. And that's what I found over the years was like people want it so bad. They want somebody, they was like, can I just get this off my plate and you do it for me? But what I really realized was even if somebody had the budget to pay for it, what I saw was the relationship was being built with me. Like I was building the relationship with the podcaster and the guest would also build a relationship if the podcast host is open to that, right? Like you said, everybody's different. So I think, some hosts, they have a set format. They have a list of questions they ask. And then some of them are more spontaneous. And it just depends, what the flow of the conversation, if you can even build a relationship with them. And that's what I really realized was like, these, authors really need to be doing this themselves. Somehow we got to figure it out. And that's why I love PodMatch too, because it does all that for us. Because you can get administrative help with it, but it's like, it really comes down to you, right? You building the relationship with somebody else, the host.
Yes.
And yeah, I love that PodMatch makes it so easy so that you don't feel like you're pitching, quote unquote. It's like when you sent a message to me, I mean, my gosh, you knew you didn't have to pitch me. But, just making that connection. And we're all there for the same reason. We all know we want to be on each other's podcast. So you don't have to, jump through any hoops. It's like, just tell me what value you bring to my listeners and you can be a guest on my show. So I love that so much. And I love that you brought up, just the budget concerns because it can be very, very costly and you might not see a return on that investment sometimes, so you really scratch your head and have to really rely on God to lead you with that. Well, talk about, do you even know how many podcasts you've been on as a guest?
I want to say between 25 and 30. Some of them aren't out yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's true. Because then you have to kind of wait, which is
Yeah.
a patience game, right?
Some have a longer wait than others. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, tell me, what have you seen, after your interviews or maybe after the interview has recorded? Like we said, a lot of it's about relationships. What have you seen like after it's been recorded or after it's been live? What have you seen change for the better for you?
Well, I do think that a lot of the relationships have been built. And I actually had a podcaster approach me about collaboration on something. Um, so I've gotten some opportunities to do collaborations with different podcasters. And I love supporting people. It's just my natural, it's what I do, especially when I really am behind what they're doing. So to really learn about different people, to be able to support them. But I've also found that they've been very supportive of me. So that mutual relationship has been a big thing. The opportunities that have come up. Book sales they're slow, but I think that's part of the process, especially when you market on your own. I think that podcast guesting has helped me with the process of waiting. It keeps me hopeful and joyful because it's going out into other audiences. And even if it only hits one or two people, or even if it's just the podcaster that buys the book, it still has gotten the message out. So I think it depends on how you look at progress too. I've had to really shift my thinking because you hear things all the time of what it should look like.
Yeah.
But I feel like we're on this journey together, the podcasters and the guests, and we're supporting one another. And it just feels like a little family. And that's been really wonderful for me to feel like I'm not
Yeah.
alone in this process.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so true, right? Because book marketing, book writing, all of it can be the lonely venture as we all just sit behind our screens at home and you never know who you're reaching. That's it's incredible, like the podcasting world. I mean, like I've been blown away by how many countries you can reach, and you're like, how would I ever have met these people any other way, unless you're out, traveling to these areas and trying to meet people. And we all don't get that, privilege to do that. But yeah, I just love how God just works through it all and he'll just figure out the right people wherever they are, go out of the world and share the message and, he'll broaden it for us. Well, I love that so much because I'm so about relationships, Desiree, and you just keep hounding it. Like just, the fact that when you serve somebody else's audience, you get to meet the podcaster and their audience, obviously, but you never know what can come out of it. And I keep hearing stories about that. And I really think that's a huge thing that, like you said, it doesn't have to be about book sales. Like you're not going to see like an instant rise in book sales maybe the day it goes out, or maybe, maybe ever that you could contribute to that one podcast. But then you have all these other opportunities that come out of it, and you never know what's going to happen through those opportunities. So, yeah, I love you so much saying that. So, anybody that, might be listening and wondering about joining PodMatch, what would you have to say just about your experience as a member there?
Oh, it's been great. I can't say anything negative, really. Like the support that they have, um, just the educational tools that they give you. I've learned so much. I don't feel like I'm just trying to figure it out myself. They really equip you. So I think that's benefit for what we pay, that we're being equipped and educated. Also, there's community opportunity for community to get to know one another. And actually, one of the podcasters that I was on her podcast, she lives near me,
Oh,
like a half
yeah.
an hour away. And that
Uh-huh.
doesn't happen much here in New England.
Yeah.
So um, we got to meet up and talk. So we have a face-to-face relationship. So you just never know, that you'll find people who are close to you. So you may be able to develop your own little community face to face. That's been another thing that's come out of it. And just the consistency. I mean, they do so much of the work for you with the matching, but then you can explore on your own and find ones on your own. So there's just so much to it. I would recommend it to anybody, and I'll never leave, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I love the founders, and like you say, yeah, the community piece of it. And I think people don't really realize until they really talk to somebody like you that knows about it or get involved in it themselves, like how much is there. It just kind of seems like, so it's a service that matches you up, which that alone would be, priceless. But yeah, just getting to know the people and the community and the training that they offer. And they, that's their hearts behind it. I mean, they really want to serve and they do it really well. Let me ask you, so have you, because you are a faith-based author, do you guest on podcasts that aren't faith-based?
um, I just pray about each one. There have been ones that I don't know necessarily that they're believers or that they are walking with the Lord. Um, but even those have been really uh, such a blessing to be on, because it's an opportunity to share things with others. And I feel like it's an opportunity to show them who Christ is in a different way that maybe they haven't seen. So I measure that. I weigh that carefully, as I go along.
Uh-huh.
I don't compromise, but I don't really stay away from going on them either.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. I love to hear that so much because you never know who's listening, right? I mean, your target audience might be listening, but then again, I do think we all need to challenge ourselves more. And I'm preaching to myself on this, just that's what we're called to do. Like we're sharing the gospel, but God's not always calling us to share the gospel only with people that already believe in him, right? I mean, so you never know. And you're right, you're shining that bright light by being a guest. And I know a lot of people, they don't always wear their faith on their sleeves, or they may not, they may want to learn more about it. And so, yeah, I get to have a guest on the show to see, they may have heard about God in different ways, or trying to learn just the Bible, or, something just isn't making sense. But then you come on and you share it your way, and they're like, wow, light bulb moment, I want to pursue this further. Well, I was curious about that because that's what I love about PodMatch too, is it is just so broad, such a broad reach and different kinds of podcasts that are out there. And you just never know. So yeah, I love that you said, compromise, your values, but you're there to serve and, do that to the best of your abilities. Well, this has been so, so good, Desiree. I'm so excited just to, hear a little bit about your experience and, definitely want to keep in touch and see how it goes as time goes on. Are there any last tips you would recommend for somebody looking into podcast guesting?
Um, I would just recommend it. I think especially for those independent authors,
Hmm.
it's just a great way to share your book and share your message. And PodMatch is the best way to go, especially when you're on a limited budget. So I would recommend that to any book author to
Hmm.
do.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Well, thank you so much. This has been so, so good. Thanks, Desiree. I so appreciate you. And I'll be sure and put a link to your book and content because you have an amazing blog where you do. We could probably do a whole nother episode on this sometime, Desiree. But you are such a encourager and lifter up of other people and sharing their books and their platforms on your blog. So I'll definitely put a link to that so we can give you a kudos and people can check that out. So anyway, thank you for your time today. I sure appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh gosh, I hope your heart was encouraged just as much as mine with Desiree. If you want to check out PodMatch, click the link in the show notes below and feel free to reach out to either of us if you have any questions we'd love to share. Thanks for tuning in to Book Marketing Mania today. And as always, I'll be there for you next episode to help you reach and serve your readers one podcast at a time. See you then.